I'm going to walk through exactly how I used browser profiling tools recently to find and fix some performance issues in the JavaScript game I'm building. What I'm going to show you isn't specific to game dev. You can use these techniques generally with any application. We're going to look at some pretty interesting stuff like how to identify what specifically is causing slow frames, how to identify potentially problematic memory patterns that might indicate memory leaks, and how to find where those memory leaks might actually be. So the first problem I needed to solve was that when a new chunk is loaded in the game, there would be a lag spike big enough to freeze the player for a couple of seconds. Step 1 in solving this is to record a performance profile of when the issue occurs. I can start a recording, walk to the spot that triggers the chunk change, and then stop the recording. Now we can see the frames the browser is rendering and how long each of those frames take to render. If we have long-running tasks, we might get dropped or partially presented frames. We can see this long task here that occurs when the chunk change happens, which takes far longer than the approximate maximum of 16.7 milliseconds required in order to be able to achieve a smooth 60 frames per second. So we have identified a problem area, and one thing we can use to identify what the problem might actually be is this flame graph for the work that is happening on the main thread. At the top, we have the time the task takes in total, and beneath that we have the call stack for that task, so we can see precisely what is contributing to these longer times. A lot of this, especially if you are using a framework, is going to be stuff internal to the frameworks that aren't relevant to you. For example, you can see here that since I'm using Angular, there is a bunch of stuff related to Zone.js being triggered. But just as a side note, later on I did actually switch to zoneless Angular after reviewing this performance profile. So it's not necessarily always useless to have this information available, but it does also make relevant stuff harder to find. So basically now we go for a little bit of a needle in a haystack search. The idea here in this case is to find code that I have actually written that is contributing to this long task. As far as I know, the colors in the flame graph here are more or less random, but they do still group things together. So what I tend to do is look for the things that stick out. For example, this function here has its own color, and if I follow it through, I can see it is indeed some of my own code. This particular code is too generic to be of help to me though, as it is just my generic scene update function, so we keep digging. We see a ton of stuff related to RxJS and observables here. This isn't necessarily a problem, I'm just making heavy use of RxJS, so naturally there are a lot of calls here. The next thing I found that stands out is this. Again, this is some of my own code, so it is interesting, but it's just the code that triggers the chunk change, so again, not super helpful in identifying what the problem actually is. So back to searching, and then we find this one, which finally gives us something interesting. This is the actual code that is running to handle the chunk change, and it gives us some timestamps to show how long particular things are taking. Of particular interest here are the tasks that are happening within loops, because since there are about 900 items per chunk, this code is going to be triggered a lot. If we have code that takes 0.1 milliseconds being triggered 900 times, then that is going to be a big problem. So both these item destroy and item update actions are of particular concern. I don't actually know how accurate these time estimates are. I tend to get confusing results from them. So once I've found an area of interest, what I do is use console.time to get a reading of how long a specific section of the code takes to run. Now I can just trigger the chunk change again, and in the console we can see that we seem to have found our culprits. My solution here was basically to spread the update actions out over multiple frames using this technique, and this entirely got rid of the slow task on chunk changes. Interestingly, after some experimentation, I found the best results by leaving the destroy call as is and just changing the updates, rather than spreading out the destroy calls as well. This goes somewhat counter to the results I was seeing from console.time, but at least as far as I understand, techniques for measuring time are not entirely accurate, so it's probably best not to rely on them entirely. Instead, you can use these things as tools to get in the ballpark of where the issue is occurring, and then experiment and measure the impact on performance from there. So that solved that issue, but there was another problem. The chunk changes were much smoother now, but as I triggered more and more chunk changes, there was an increasing amount of lag to the point where eventually the game basically couldn't function anymore. This, at least on the surface, sounds like a memory leak, which can be extremely difficult to find. A memory leak occurs where we are using an increasing amount of memory over time because we aren't freeing up memory we no longer need to be using. This should happen automatically in JavaScript as it is a garbage collected language and we don't need to manually assign and free memory. But if something in our code holds a reference to some object, even though we aren't using it anymore, then it can't be garbage collected because as far as the garbage collection is concerned, it appears as though we still need that particular object. The technique we used before with the flame graph doesn't help us much here. But what we can do is check this memory checkbox and record an extended performance profile over a time frame where the suspected memory leak becomes noticeable. This line here represents memory that is being allocated and then freed up by garbage collection. What we are seeing here is potentially a problem. In general, with memory, what we want to see is this sort of sawtooth pattern where memory consumption rises and falls as garbage collection occurs. What we don't want to see, generally speaking, is this sort of rising sawtooth pattern where the baseline memory is constantly increasing. We do expect to see some baseline increase of memory usage, but for this situation, we shouldn't see constantly increasing amounts of memory over time. So let's confirm this by doing it again, but this time we will trigger a manual garbage collection by clicking this button throughout the test. This way we know that garbage collection has been triggered at certain points, and we can see where our baseline memory is and if it is rising over time. If we don't see the memory usage drop back down to a normal level, then it likely means it's an issue with our code holding onto objects it doesn't need that can't be garbage collected as a result. And we can indeed see that even after the garbage collection is triggered, it is only dropping to the elevated baseline level. Each one of these relatively flat sections is where I've manually triggered garbage collection. And you can see each time it gets a little higher, whereas each time it should be dropping to more or less the same level. One technique we can use for trying to find a memory leak is to inspect the JavaScript heap, which is the memory space used by our application. To do that, we can just take a heap snapshot in the memory tab after we are seeing the effects of the memory leak. If we sort by shallow size, we can see we have a lot of arrays and whatever this emitter op2 object is. This is related to particle emitters in Phaser, which I'm using on every single item in the game because just about every single item is combustible and has smoke and flame particle emitters created for it. We can also see in these arrays that we have a lot of particle emitter references. In hindsight, this makes perfect sense. I am creating these emitters every time items are created, which happens on every chunk change. But the emitters are added to the scene object, so when the associated item is destroyed, the emitter isn't actually destroyed along with it because the scene remains active and holds a reference to all the emitters that have been created. The solution quite simply was to add a little cleanup function when the items are destroyed. A simple solution, but in my initial guesses at what might have been causing the apparent memory leak, the particle emitters didn't even cross my mind. In the end, I was able to achieve some drastic performance wins with just some very small code changes. But without the help of these profiling tools, I might have given up on game dev before I ever figured out what was actually going wrong. Keep in mind that what I have presented in this video is a somewhat cleaned up representation of how I actually debugged this. I didn't just instantly find the issues, there was more experimentation and searching than it might seem like from watching this video. But hopefully this provided a reasonably accurate view into what it actually looks like to use these tools in a real life scenario. And if you did find this video helpful, a like or subscribe before you go would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you back here again for the next video.